Okay, I'm going to make a recording of the Section 1 notes on this program. I have about 15 minutes, so if I go fast, it's because I'm trying to get everything in that time. Um, in Section 1, we started constructions, and this kind of goes back in time before you had protractors and rulers where you can measure things. So the only tools we're going to have are a compass and a straight edge. Okay, so all we get is this compass and then the straight edge. And on the straight edge, I know I have a ruler here. I'm going to use the one that's not marked, because when we copy things now, we can't just measure them and mark them out. We have to use these two tools. Right. Our first construction we did is just constructing a congruent segment. So we're given AD, segment AD, and we're going to draw a segment that's longer than needed. It's right below here. Using our straight edge, it's possible to draw a straight line like so. And then to copy this, we have to measure segment AD using our compass. What that means is you open this up so it's as wide as AD. Get as wide as AD. And then we mark off the length of AD on the drawing. So we put the pointy edge on one end, then we mark an arc. So now this length for AD is the same as this length. So we copied down a new segment that has two endpoints, which we will call MN. And we can say that segment AD is congruent to segment MN. So I know this is all extra hanging out here, but all we had to do was copy the same length as AD, which we did down here using our compass. So if we ever have to copy a segment, you would use your compass and just open up to that length. Right. Our second construction was constructing an angle that is congruent to the angle shown. This one is a little bit trickier than one we just did. So whenever we're trying to draw an angle, we always start with a ray. We have to start with one side of that angle. So we're going to draw a ray VY, we'll call it. Oops. So we construct ray VY using our straight edge. We come down here, and we draw a ray. So this is the first part of our angle. Let's label it VY. And it's no certain length, I just made it longer than the one side of our angle given. And then we want to strike an arc on angle W and ray VY. So we take our compass. I have to close mine up a little bit. I'm just going to strike an arc that goes on this angle. I'm going to shorten up a little bit more. We strike an arc on here, so it crosses both parts of our angle, and then I keep my compass the same width. So I'm not opening or closing it, it's the same width it was up here. And I'm going to come down here, put my pointy edge on V, and I'm going to strike an arc on this ray. And I tried to make this arc about as long as this one was, because now we're going to measure this new arc, and let's call it arc AB. We're going to measure arc AB with our compass, because we know that this angle has to cross somewhere here. We don't know if it's here, 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 or here. We're going to measure that with our compass. So we go up here, we open up our compass or close our compass, so it's going to match this. So mine is right about there. A little bit wider probably. So you match this up, So now if I were to draw an arc, it would go from A to B. And I come down here, and on this point, I'm going to draw another arc with a pointy edge here. Come here. I'm going to draw an arc. So you see we draw that arc there. Now we have this new point that we will call X. So this point, the distance from these 2 points is the same as the distance from A to B. So we've marked off arc AB on our new drawing. That would be, we did right here. This distance is the same as this distance. We marked that off. And the last thing we have to do is connect point V with point X. And we have the other part of our ray. So what we know is that this angle and this angle are congruent. And if you take your protractor, like let's just pretend we wanted to see if they were close, they probably are within a couple degrees. And down here I'm going to say angle W is congruent to angle V, based on doing these steps. And I was telling the whole class that what I'm going to look for when I grade this is I'm not going to measure the two angles and make sure they're exactly the same, because sometimes your compass slides in and apart. I'm going to look for these arcs. I'm going to look for this and these two marks here to know that you copied it correctly. All right. And then if we flip over to the back side, we have a couple more constructions. Angle bisector, and then we have some examples to go through. So an angle bisector is very similar to what we just did in construction number 2. If we have an angle and we're just trying to draw a ray that bisects it, we know that that ray is going to end up somewhere in here. And we're going to find that by drawing arcs. So the first thing we do is draw an arc on angle R. So I'm going to make my compass wide enough but not too wide. I want it to cross on the angle. So I put my pointy edge here, and I'm just going to draw an arc all the way around. And I apologize that all you're seeing is my hand when I do this, but I took this compass and I drew an arc around. So we strike an arc on angle R. And then we want to open the compass a little bigger. So I just open mine up a little bit. And we have these two new points. We will call them M and N. And we're going to strike an arc using those points. Again, we know that that ray is going to be somewhere up here. So we're going to put our pointy edge on M. And we are going to draw an arc up above. And we'll do the same thing from N. Put the pointy edge on N and draw an arc. And those two arcs cross. If we call this point P, the last thing we have to do is connect P to R. And as you go through, if you're following this and doing your construction, I would pause just to make sure you know how to do all this. I know I'm probably going a little fast. So we go on here, connect P to R. We now have two smaller angles that we know are congruent. So we can say angle MRP is congruent to angle NRP. Because ray RP is a bisector. So that's how we bisect angles. Alright, so this recording is down to about 5 minutes. I'm going to try to quick go through a couple of these examples so you get a chance to look at them because homework is very similar to this. In example 1, we're given these two segments, segment N and segment W, and we're trying to construct N minus W. So just like in construction 1, we want to draw a segment that's clearly longer than N. So we start out with just our straight edge and we draw a segment. Now on that segment, I'm going to copy down N. So remember to copy it down. We open up our compass so it's as wide as N. I got my compass as wide as N. We come down here, we draw an arc. So I know that this length here to here is as long as N. So we have N. We want to find out what N minus W is. All we have to do is try to find out how long W is and take it away. So we do the same thing. Come up here. We're going to close our compass so it's to W. And so I'm looking at N. I'm going to start at the same endpoint, and I'm just going to copy down W. So now I know that from here to here is W. If I have N and I take away W, so N minus W, I'm going to be left with this piece, N minus W. So I just constructed N minus W. There's a lot of other stuff here, but this is what I was looking for. And we were able to do that without a ruler. Number 2 is just like our construction number 2. We just copy down angle Y. I want to skip that so I can show you number 3 because this recording is going to stop me in about 2.5 minutes. Okay, so in number 3, the 60-degree angle. For an angle, we always start with a ray. So if I want to construct an angle, I start by drawing a ray. Now, remember that a 60-degree angle, we can compare this to an equilateral triangle. All angles in an equilateral triangle are 60 because it's also equiangular. So what we do for a 60-degree angle is we set our compass to one length and we keep it like that. We don't change it at all. And we're going to copy down these lengths on the ray, and then we're going to find out where it crosses. So what we will do is draw an arc all the way around. And then we go to the other point, keeping our compass the same. We come down here, and we draw an arc. And these arcs cross at a point up here. But what we just found out is this length and this length and this length are all the same. So basically we have an equilateral triangle. And if it's an equilateral triangle, then we know all the angles are equiangular. So I'm going to come down here and connect this. And I know that this angle has to be 60 degrees because I constructed these lengths to be an equilateral triangle, so it's also equiangular. So I'm not going to have time to go through number 2, but number 2 is just like construction number 2 on the front. Hopefully this helps. If you need anything else, just let me know.